the Giant's Causeway, a path between worlds. On the edge of northern Ireland, where land meets the restless sea, lies a place that seems to challenge reason itself. Thousands of stone columns rise with impossible precision, forming a pathway that disappears into the horizon. A structure so perfect, it feels designed, as if it once belonged to something greater than us. Long before science gave its answers, people turned to stories. Stories that did not explain the world, but gave it meaning. And here, along these shores, one legend emerged from the mist. A story of giants, rivalry, and fear. According to tradition, the giant Finn McCool built a path across the sea to reach Scotland and confront his rival, Benandonner. Driven by pride and challenge, he shaped a bridge of stone, stretching from one land to the other. A road impossible for ordinary men, but fitting, perhaps, for beings of impossible size. Yet like many ancient legends, this one was not told in only one way. Over generations, people repeated it, reshaped it, and passed it on. And with each retelling, the details changed. In one of the best-known versions, Finn completed the causeway with courage in his heart. But when the moment finally came, and he saw the Scottish giant in the distance, his confidence faltered. The rival he had imagined for so long appeared far greater than expected. Larger, stronger, more fearsome than rumor had prepared him for. Faced with that reality, it was not strength, but strategy that would decide what followed. And this is where another important figure enters the story. His wife, Unak. In the most famous telling, Unak devised a plan both simple and brilliant. She suggested that Finn hide himself, not as a warrior, but as something small and harmless. She disguised her giant husband so that he would appear to be a baby, wrapped in blankets, resting in silence, seemingly innocent, and yet impossibly large. When Benandonner arrived and saw what appeared to be the child of his enemy, the illusion took hold. Because if that was the baby, then how enormous, how terrifying must the father be?
Breathe,
and so, in this version of the tale, fear replaced fury. The invader did not stay to fight. He turned back at once, abandoning his challenge before it had even begun. But not every version of the legend includes the child. In another telling, there was no disguise at all. No cradle, no trick, no baby wrapped in cloth. Instead, the story says that when Finn truly understood the scale of the giant approaching from Scotland, he was shaken by the sight alone. And perhaps the fear worked both ways. For when the two forces drew near one another, when distance gave way to reality, it was not battle that followed, but panic. Some storytellers say that Benandonner himself became alarmed when he sensed danger on the far shore, and fled before the confrontation could begin. And there is yet another version, one less often told, but no less vivid. In that telling, the Scottish giant's terror came not only from what, or whom, he saw, but from the sea itself. As the causeway began to crack and collapse beneath him, the stone bridge no longer felt like a road, but a trap. And according to this version, Benandonner had one more reason to fear the crossing. He did not know how to swim. So when the bridge began to break apart beneath his feet, when stone gave way to crashing water, he ran, fast, desperately, driven not by pride, but by survival, back toward his own coast, back toward Scotland, back toward solid ground. And in his retreat, whether from fear of Finn, fear of the child, or fear of the sea, the great stone path was torn apart behind him, broken, shattered, reduced to fragments, leaving behind only the remains, the stones that still stand today. A story shaped by imagination, yet rooted in something real, because the stones remain, silent, unmoving, waiting to be understood. Around 60 million years ago, this place was not shaped by giants, but by fire. Molten rock rose from beneath the Earth's surface, spreading across the land in vast, glowing flows. Thick basaltic lava covered the ground, dense and slow-moving, rich in iron and magnesium. And then, it began to cool. As the surface hardened, a solid crust formed, while beneath it, the lava remained hot. Over time, as temperatures dropped, the material began to contract. And when rock contracts, it fractures. At first, the cracks were small and irregular, spreading across the surface without order. But as cooling continued, internal stresses redistributed, and the fractures began to organize themselves. Gradually, patterns emerged, shapes that fit together with remarkable efficiency. Most of them six-sided hexagons. These fractures extended downward, deep into the cooling lava, forming long, vertical columns of basalt, not perfectly uniform, but consistent enough to create the striking geometry we see today at the Giant's Causeway. What appears to be design is the natural result of balance, pressure, and time. And yet, standing here, it is easy to understand why another explanation once existed. Because even now, the line between story and reality feels thin. In the shifting light, across the wet stone, something almost seems to move. A presence suggested,
Look how
but
perfect
never
the angles
fully
are.
seen. A step that leaves no mark. A figure that fades into mist. And then, nothing. Only the columns remain. Solid, ancient, real. Today, people from around the world walk these stones. They move carefully across the uneven surface, pausing to look, to listen, to understand. Some see geology, others see legend. Most see both. Because this place does more than tell a story. It holds two at once. One, shaped by imagination, filled with giants, fear, cleverness, and mystery. The other, written in the language of the earth, in fire, pressure, and millions of years. Different ways of seeing the same wonder. And as the sun sets over the Giant's Causeway, the question is no longer which story is true, but why we needed both. Perhaps the legend gave meaning before science gave understanding. Or perhaps they were never meant to compete. Because in places like this, imagination and reality do not stand apart. They meet quietly, endlessly, like the stones reaching into the sea.